Welcome everybody to another edition of Hurry Up. I'm your host, Don Juan Sports. Let's get right into it. Obviously today, NBA players can officially sign on the dotted line. So let's get into some NBA. I got a good show for you today. We're going to talk about what elite is, or what we could think of as elite. And of course, we're going to touch on Jimmy Valvano. I don't know if you guys know, it's his fundraiser going on ESPN to raise money for cancer research. If you haven't seen his speech, go on YouTube, Google it. It's a touching speech. Everyone should listen to that speech. Let's get into it. Dwight Howard is not going to Brooklyn. What does that mean for Brooklyn? Well, it doesn't really. It means a lot. It does mean a lot, but this is why I look at it. Brooklyn Nets are going to be a competitive, good, hopefully playoff team with the guys that got on the roster. Now you sign Brook Lopez. You know, you're probably looking for a power forward because there's not really one on the roster yet. We also know that Chris Humphries could possibly come back, but do you want him again as your starting power forward? Even though he did average a double-double last year, you know, he gives you some solid minutes and he's a solid, tough guy inside, but he's looking for a long-term deal. Will the Nets give him that deal? We don't know. We also know that they brought in Jerry Stackhouse. This could be just for a look, as well as, you know, just for veteran leadership to copy a little bit of Miami to bring in a lot of guys. Orlando was going to ship over Jason Richardson, but because that deal doesn't work out, you know, you don't get that veteran presence you want behind, you know, Joe Johnson. But I think the Orlando Magic are really in a quandary. I really don't think they really want. I think they kind of just they don't like Dwight Howard and they're trying to get the best deal for it as opposed to shipping the guy out. I would rather ship him out, get done with it. You know, when you have a relationship that's gone sour, you just want to end ties and be civil and say, listen, let's go about our merry way. Here's what you want. Here's what I want. Bingo, bango, done. Instead, we're still in this saga, still fighting, and heck, who knows? You know, maybe by the end of tonight, Dwight Howard will be shipped to Brooklyn. But right now, it doesn't look like he's going to Brooklyn. For all you Brooklyn fans, though, keep your heads up. You're going to be a good team, probably a fifth seed. You know, no worse than an eighth seed if everybody stays healthy. You will be competing with the Knicks, who have done some good moves in their own right to keep, I wouldn't say pace, but to improve their team. Now, everyone's talking about, championship. They're not. Both teams are not at championship level yet. First off, you got to beat Miami. Second off, you got to beat Boston. And those two teams are probably the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So when you look at this and you bring it all together and you bring it to a close, there's a lot of work to be done, but be proud of both the squads. Now, who do I think is better? I think Brooklyn on paper, I agree with Stephen A. Smith, that Brooklyn on paper is a better team. We'll see how they gel and mesh, but you essentially got a big three in Gerald Wallace, you know, Joe Johnson, and Deron Williams. You got two All-Stars in the backcourt. You got Brook Lopez, who's not a bad center. Everybody's sneezing on this. He's not a bad center. He's just been injured, you know. So he can play. He was averaging a double-double before he got injured, and when he came back, he had some good games for you. So it's not that bad of a move for them. They gave him a max deal. As for the Knicks, you bring in Marcus Camby. That's a good move. You bring in some other pieces. You know, Jeremy Lin is signed. Jason Kidd. Those are good veteran moves to shore up. Does it make it a championship team? By no means does it make it a championship team. And you're not trying to win a championship. You're trying to get out of the first round. You gotta set your goals small, or just make it to the playoffs again and see what happens. You never know if you're going to get hot. You never know if you never know if a Derrick Rose type injury is going to happen, where a good team comes down to being, I wouldn't say a mediocre team, but an average team. The equalizer is that if you look at the Philadelphia series, they weren't even supposed to be in that series if Derrick Rose is in there. They get injured. They put the Bulls in a hole, and the Bulls with the injuries and their age couldn't keep up with the Philadelphia 76ers. So that's why you got to play the games, because you don't always know what's going to happen. Now, moving right along, we're going to chit chat about elite. Everybody's talking about elite with this Eli Manning and Tony Romo. Who's better? Who's not better? You know. Well, let me break it down for you. Let me break it down for you like this. Okay. If you want, everyone's like, oh, you know, Eli won't make the Hall of Fame, or this guy won't be in the Hall of Fame, or this, that, and anything. You gotta look at who makes things better. Yeah, the last show we talked about game managers. Alex Smith cannot be a game manager for the 49ers to win a championship. He needs to get at least 3,500 yards and get into the 20s in touchdowns. You need to make more plays. Their defense gave them more plays. The defense gave them more plays. But if you don't convert, you were 1 of 11 in the NFC Championship game on third down. That's not going to get it done. You got to find a way. Everyone, it rests on the quarterback. You are the general out there. That's what it's going to be about. Now, if we were talking about elite status, you look at Terry Bradshaw. If you put Terry Bradshaw's stats against a guy like Phil Simms, the only thing that Terry Bradshaw has got more of is 4 rings. 2 more rings than Phil Simms. 2 more rings than Phil Simms. Yet, 1 ring happens with Steve Young, and he's in over Phil Simms. And they almost have identical stats. Look it up. Almost identical stats. They almost throw for the same amount of yardage, same amount of touchdowns, and they're both on great teams. Great teams. So where do we draw the line on the league? If you look at Lynn Swann, he's another guy that played for that Steel Curtain team. He doesn't have more than 10,000 yards. Maybe not even more than 8,000 yards. Look it up. But you know who has more? Tim Brown, Andre Reed, Chris Carter. 3 guys that are not in the championship, not in the Hall of Fame. But Lynn Swann's got 4 rings. So where do we draw a line? Where do we draw a line? Where do we draw a line? Curtis Martin doesn't even get mentioned in some of the best backs of all time. I mean, we're talking about LaDainian Tomlinson. What about Curtis Martin, who's going to the Hall of Fame right now? Do we not consider him elite running back? O.J. Anderson, who won a Super Bowl with the Giants, is 10,000 yards. Where do we draw a line on the league? Where does it draw a line? So if you're going to compare Tony Romo to Eli Manning, you got to compare him to Alex Smith. You got to compare him to Michael Vick. You got to compare him to all the guys that you put in there. And yet Alex Smith isn't even in that list because he doesn't even beat guys like Rex Grossman in yardage and stats. Rex Grossman, Matt Hasselbeck, Michael Vick, a few, just to name a few. And we're not even talking about the top 5 guys, who, by the way, are, Eli Manning beats Drew Brees, beats Aaron Rodgers, and then above him is Drew Brees, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, and those guys are above Eli in terms of stats. Tony Romo's not even, he's like right below Eli. So, and he's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. What does that mean? What does that mean? You put his career, and they stopped him right now today. There is no way you could argue to me that Tony Romo is better than Eli Manning because we count championships. If you look at it, Vinny Testaverde has more yardage than Phil Simms and or Terry Bradshaw, and yet he's not in the Hall of Fame, and we don't even consider him elite. So my point is, stack it up. We talk about rings. 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 Champion. The only guy you can count out in that quarterback championship, but he's got a ring, and Romo doesn't, is Trent Dilfer. He's game manager. You know what I mean? You got to look at the guy's stats and what they did. Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. That's better than Big Ben. Ben Roethlisberger, who was drafted in his draft class. That's better than Philip Rivers. When you draft a quarterback, number 1 overall, you want him to be the MVP of a Super Bowl. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have you be an MVP of a championship winning cause than just of the regular season. Great, you won the regular season. What does that mean for me in the playoffs? Aaron Rodgers, MVP of the regular season. He got ousted in the first game he played in this year's playoffs. Then you could argue he had a better season because they won the Super Bowl and became the Super Bowl MVP. So he's got that. What do those trophies mean in the championship if it doesn't merit respect from your peers? I'm just saying. Just look at it. Dig deeper before you start popping lip about who's better than who. And if you're good, if the 49ers want to get there, I believe Alex Smith has got to move up into that top. He's in the top 20. You got to move up into the top 15 realm. You got to move up there because that team is going to need you. You can't be 1 for 11 on third downs in the NFC Championship game because defense is going to start to see your tendencies and be like, well, if this guy can't convert, they can't win. And that's what you need, a great big-time quarterback. Finally, in closing, Jimmy Valvano is fundraisers going on. Jimmy V, if you haven't seen the speech, like I said, very moving speech. They have the Jimmy Valvano Fight for Cancer research. They raised over $90 million in the years of his passing. And the man's speech is just so inspirational. Everything that he says, you can make a quote out of, And at the end of the speech, when the guy, in the speech he's so animated, he's talking about how much he loves his kids and, there's not that much research for, cancer. One of the things that really moves me in that speech is when the guy is flashing 30 seconds on the screen and he's like, I'm going to go over that. 30 seconds, no. I have tumors all over my body. I'm not going to stop talking because you tell me stop talking. I don't have that much time. I'm going to send my message. And to me, that was poignant. And at the end of the speech, when he says what his motto is for his research for cancer, and everybody, most people know or have been touched by cancer or affected by cancer in different ways. I know I have. Many people I've talked to have. And Jimmy V has, inspired me to look more and be more aware. And at the end of his speech, he says, his motto is for his research: don't ever give up. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. And that goes for everything that you do in life. Your mom, your dad, your work. Never give up. Never give up. Because when you give up hope, that's when it's all lost. And if Jimmy V can stand there in front of thousands of people in national audience and give a speech like that when he is at his worst and can still give me energy for 8 to 11 minutes and resonate, then that means we can do anything. You got to believe in what he says. Jimmy V, thank you. God bless. You've touched so many lives. I appreciate what ESPN is still doing for cancer research. Everybody, this has been the Don Juan of Sports. Please, 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 I can't stress enough. Go to that, look that website up, look up Jim Valvano. You'll be impressed. You'll be touched just like I was. This is Adam. This is the Hurry Up. I'm out.